All right, guys. We're very lucky this week to be joined by Eddie Barraco, a head coach at Xtreme Couture. Eddie, look, we appreciate your time. And first of all, how you feeling? I know you're a bit sick last week, so how's the body feeling? And obviously, come back from Houston, the win with Casey, and back in Vegas. So how you feeling?
I'm feeling good now. I think I just ran myself down over the course of the 4 weeks with
Mm,
Cody's fight, Julian's fight, and Casey's fight, and a crunch
mm,
week in between, and a bunch of traveling. So yeah, I think I don't tend to sit down on my own. My body tends to sit me down.
yeah.
So, but yeah, it's great to be back in the swing of things. Good practice this morning, great room, and had Casey in there training away. So it was great. It was great to see her be able to showcase, more of her skill set that she has on that big stage. So yeah, it's great.
Well, the first question I want to ask you is bit different, but um, obviously some athletes and fighters, um, some identify as a martial artist first, some identify as a fighter first. While they're both intertwined, you personally, what do you consider yourself as, more of a martial artist first or a fighter first?
Martial artist first. I come from that background, that mindset where it's the martial arts is a way of life as opposed to fighters. You're just going to go in there, you're going to fight. I think martial artists tend to keep in mind the respect aspect a little bit more. Sometimes loyal to a fault, to a gym, to coach, a particular set of coaches, martial artists can be. And I think nowadays, seeing success in certain people, I think to have a good blend of both and a good balance, I think I think that's a good thing. I think it's good to be a martial artist, but it's also good to have that grit and that fire and that little bit of mean streak that a fighter has. And I've definitely coached both, so um, I believe a good balance to that is key to success.
Yeah.
So then talking about that keys to success and building up martial artists and fighters, as a coach, do you think there is a difference between building what you could say are instinctual reactions of a fighter as opposed to a casual martial artist? So an example is, a fighter is taught if you're taken down, if you wind up on bottom, don't settle, look to sweep, get on top, get on top. Whereas the casual practitioner might, settle on bottom a little bit. They might be up to play around a little bit more from that bottom guard. So, just to get your thoughts on that, do you think there are different instinctual reactions in martial arts for serious competitors and fighters as opposed to casual practitioners?
I think anybody that steps into a cage or a ring and gets punched in the face, you kind of go past that line of casual. And the sense of urgency that comes from being on bottom, getting punched, is pretty universal. I think when you're getting pounded, I think you have a tendency to be a bit more urgent to get up. Um, what I think the main difference is between a fighter or a martial artist, when I think that is, a martial artist is someone who could practice a martial art, whatever that may be. They may never fight. A fighter can be a martial artist. If you're a martial artist and you never compete and you don't get into a fight, then you're not a fighter. You're just a martial artist. But I think a fighter can be both successfully. I've seen phenomenal martial artists that have a sense of urgency in the training room, but it will only go so far. They're only going to carry it so far. Whereas, if you have a professional fighter in the training room, even around non-professional fighters, they just have a different aura about them. They have a different intensity about them, how they train, how they drill. Because it is a totally different aspect. When it's their time to be put in the limelight and have to work, have to compete. It's a fight. So I definitely see the difference, but like I said, I think fighters can be both fighters and martial artists. Whereas if you're just a martial artist, if you just do it casually, there is no competition side to it for you. I think it's hard sometimes to understand what level you're going to have to take it to when you have another human being trying to do their will, impose their will on you.
Mm.
You know,
Well, quick question is about your thoughts on something that I've been thinking about is when someone walks into a gym, you hear the age-old saying of "leave your ego at the door," which I think is it's a fair point. Not to get wrapped up in your own ego, but I think to be a successful martial artist, and even a fighter, a competitor, I think you need to have what a lot of people would call a healthy ego. Um,
Yes.
believing you're the best and going to win. What are your thoughts on that idea?
Yeah, that's what people refer to a lot of times in our sport as cocky, but it's really a confidence that borderlines that cockiness, and you
Yeah,
have to have that. I mean, if you intend to be a world champion, the best at it, like you have to have a level of confidence that far exceeds what the normal mind is able to grasp. And normally people just see that and they go, oh, this guy's cocky. You know, the Conor McGregors or, you know, for example, that everybody knows. It's like that person's confidence level exceeded, you know, what most are able to kind of grasp. And sometimes people perceive that as cocky, you know, but in this sport, you have to have them, you know, because it is very much a taxing sport mentally, and it requires a lot of confidence to be able to do it. You know,
yeah,
so
yeah.
you know it could be perceived as both, but you have to have that. I believe you have to have that.
Yeah.
So switching tacks a little bit, let's talk about Casey. So Casey obviously had a great win over a really tough opponent and a true veteran in Roxanne Modafferi.
Yeah.
Just something that I noticed when I was watching the fight is Casey did a very good job of staying disciplined and tight whenever Modafferi would she almost dances across that center line a little bit when she's throwing in fours. And a
Hmm.
lot of the time, some fighters, when they have another fighter pushing forward, kind of crossing that center line, they'll kind of revert a little bit. They won't stay as disciplined, won't stay as tight. They'll be looking to land the inside hooks. Was staying disciplined and staying and keeping everything tight part of the game plan for Casey, or was that an adjustment that she was making in the fight?
Yeah, staying disciplined, staying uh, you know, reserved in the sense to where we're not going to try to push forward, be super aggressive, and give up easy takedowns. So she absolutely stuck to the game plan when it was, you know, sniping, moving, drawing her in, the cliched saying, right, stick and move. And that
Mm,
was literally the game plan: is get your head off the center line. You know, we know Roxanne threw straight punches, so it's going to get your head off the center line and then move. Get your head off the center line, strike, and then move.
mm,
Maintain that center, stay off the cage. You know, do I think there was times where Casey could have been more aggressive? Well, yeah. I mean, hindsight's 2020 looking back, but could that have also gotten her in trouble? Yeah, absolutely. So
mm.
she did a phenomenal job of doing that, staying disciplined. You know, bringing a skillful fight rather than a brawl, and you know, and it worked out for her well,
Mm.
like we thought it would.
Yeah, and it was a great fight on the card. And from your opinion as a coach, as someone who was obviously building Casey up for that fight, you would have looked at Roxanne. Was there something in that fight that she did that kind of surprised you guys a little bit? Because I know the commentary were talking about how tough Roxanne is, and I feel like everyone who knows and respects Roxanne for the veteran and the pioneer she is knows how tough she is. She's an absolute gamer.
She absolutely is. She's a gamer. She's tough as nails. And like you said, she's a pioneer in women's MMA. So the only thing that really surprised me was she didn't go for takedowns more. You know, at the end of that first round,
Mm,
she got that takedown.
Mm.
So I fully expected her to shoot and reshoot and shoot again, and she didn't. I think that could have helped her and been in her favor a little bit. But you know, maybe there was just a bit of excitement, and that was her last fight. And she just wanted to go out there and throw down. And I respect the hell out of that, you know, and I
yeah.
definitely respect her for that too. So I don't know what the game plan was for her, or you know what was going on in that corner on her side, but you know that was the only thing that really surprised me. Everything else didn't surprise me. We knew she was gonna be tough.
Obviously, us being Australian, Casey, claiming half Australian herself, we're
Yeah,
big
oh yeah,
fans, and we're fans of her, and seeing her come from the regional circuit here in Eternal MMA, and seeing how good she's going now, on the win streak she is, and just she's really dominating, and to see her move into that top 10, that top 10 position has been really exciting to watch. From your point of view, what do you think could possibly be next for Casey in terms of competition? And I did hear her in the interview the other day. I think it was with Ariel, mentioning that by the time she's 28, she's 24 now. By the time she's 28, she's going to be a world champion. And I tend to believe her. Your thoughts? Is there a possibility before that, or you think that's a good time frame for her?
I think within that time frame, you know, within a couple years, and within that 28-year mark, so you know, 2 to 4 years, something like that realistically. And look, the thing with her is there's no rush. We don't want to rush her.
Mm,
She's young. She's doing great. Stock's high, and the main thing is like we just want to make sure that we're fighting around her rank. There's no reason, in my opinion, she needs to jump from her rank now to like start fighting people in the top five. Because
yeah,
then where do you go from there, right? So the
of
main thing is
course.
just
Yeah.
to take your time, gain experience. And I think that's one of the most valuable things a young fighter can do is just gain experience on their way up and not rush that rise to the top. Because then once you're there, you
Yeah.
know, and the only way you're going back down, things aren't going well.
Mm.
So,
Do you think an important part of, as you say, taking your time with Casey, building her up, making sure we don't just go from fighting number 15 to number 2, do you think part of that is so you have more time to kind of, because everyone has tendencies, whether they're good or bad, everyone in their game has good and bad tendencies. So is
absolutely.
part of wanting to take your time to just sort of shore up those tendencies and be like, okay, your opponents, they may see some things that you do in fights that might be mistakes or might leave openings, but we want to try and minimize how many of those bad tendencies there are. Is that maybe part of the reason you want to take your time with Casey?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Her and everyone I coach in general, we're always analyzing ourselves as if we were the opponent and the opponent's coach. So
Mm,
we always want to make sure that when we see things that we can improve, we have the opportunity to improve them. When you go from fight to fight to fight, you're in fight camp after fight camp. There's not really room to improve and add new tools. You're just in fight camp. You're getting ready for a specific opponent. You're getting ready to cut weight. All those things that come with that. But yeah, there's something to be said for being able to take a break in between fights and learn some new stuff and improve on some stuff we already do well, as
mm,
well as maybe fix some things that we see.
mm.
Yeah.
So, final question from us here today that we kind of want to ask you, and we got Dennis's thoughts on it when we had him on earlier, and we asked him what does he think separates the coaching staff at Xtreme Couture from coaching staff at other gyms? And for Dennis, he obviously highlighted how a big part of it is the coaches don't have combative egos, where everyone's constantly combative and there's no sense of direction in the gym. So, from your perspective, as another coach at Xtreme Couture, what is it for you that sort of separates or adds something special to your coaching staff and your gym that is different from other gyms out there?
Um, well, I can only speak from the experience that I have in other gyms because, to be fair, it's not like I've spent time coaching or even extended periods of time to any other major gyms that are out there. And there's a lot of great gyms with great
Mm,
coaches. But I know from experience in other gyms here in Vegas when they were open and whether they're here or not, it's, another story. But the main thing that I see different is our ability to work together for the fighter's goal in mind.
mm,
Because I'll say it all the time. It's like, that gym can get sold tomorrow. That name can change on the building.
mm,
Ryan can get an offer and he cashes out for $2 million. Somebody comes in and then there's a new name on the gym. Well, then what? So at the end of the day, it's the people within the gym, the
mm,
coaches in the gym, the fighters in the gym that make that gym. Um, so I think that, like Dennis said, is we have this ability to drop an ego and just be there to help each other, help the fighters. To
mm,
some people in the gym, I'm their head coach, and to some people in the gym, they just show up for my practice. And to some people in the gym, I'm just a positive role model and energy source for them, and I don't coach them physically at all.
mm,
Same thing for Coach Eric, Coach Dennis, Coach Nate, all the guys in there. It's all the same thing in the sense that, yeah, Dennis is the head coach, Eric's the head coach, I'm the head coach, Nate's the head coach, everybody's the head coach, and everybody's an assistant coach. And I think
mm.
that helps keep in mind that it's about the fighter and their success equals our success.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Eddie, look, brother, we really appreciate you jumping on and giving us your time. I know you're hungry
Of
probably and you
course,
want to eat,
anytime.
so
No
we do
worries, no
appreciate you
worries,
coming on.
anytime.
But yeah, we'd love to chat again in the future if you're able to. We'd love to chat again in the future. And yeah, we appreciate your time today, man. All the best.
Absolutely, absolutely. Anytime.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Appreciate
man.
you guys. God
All
bless.
the best.